Hey everybody, Tim here with today's episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 1, Episode 20, The Arsenal of Freedom. First of all, can you believe we're up to 20 episodes already? I realize I kind of do 2 episodes a day, but still, it feels like it's gone by so fast. Overall, this is a good episode. To me, this felt like a classic episode with a modern budget, but I can't really compare it to a classic episode, at least off the top of my head. Maybe you guys can. Overall, it's a good episode. So basically, the crew encounter a planet, and they get separated, which first off is pretty interesting, because you got Riker, which it's interesting because it turns out that Riker, who's the commander, was offered command. He was offered to be captain of his own ship, the Drake, sorry. But he turned it down just to be commander of the Enterprise. So that kind of says something about the Enterprise legacy right there. I mean, they might be going overboard with it, but it's pretty interesting where they're like, hey, you can have your own ship, or you can stay parallel to where you are, a lateral move, and be on the Enterprise. And he's going for the Enterprise. So that's kind of interesting. So you got Riker, Tasha Yar, who has done nothing this whole season. I'm sorry, she hasn't. And Data, who's in one group, being attacked by these little drones that are increasingly getting harder, kind of Incredible style. So you got them, and then you have Picard and Crusher on the other side, which is kind of interesting because supposedly from the very beginning they were supposed to be developing a relationship between Jean-Luc and Beverly. But Gene Roddenberry was the one who kept crushing it and being no, Star Trek doesn't need relationships, kind of in that 60s non-linear mindset where episodes don't have to connect. And supposedly at this point where he was really having trouble with his disabilities and stuff, the writers kind of pushed him out as a writer, because rumor has it every episode he was out there doing new scripts as they were filming. And so they kind of pushed him out, kept him as an executive producer, but kind of pushed him out of the writing room. And they were okay, we need to bring this up to date and have each episode connect. And they wanted to have a relationship between Picard and Crusher, which is interesting. And it's something we kind of see develop over the years. So you have these two different groups on this planet. And with Picard and Crusher, it's kind of interesting. I liked, I'm terrible with names, Vincent Schiavelli, it's Italian, I'm assuming, who's a great character actor. Now, don't worry if you guys are who the fuck is that guy? He's a character actor who I like. He's one of those where he pops up and you're oh, it's that guy. He was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and probably the most famous role he did, he was the subway ghost in the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze. He's the one that teaches him how to do stuff, push the coin. He's that guy. He's a great actor. He pops up every now and then. He's dead now, but he pops up from time to time in movies and stuff in the 90s. And you're just oh, hey, I know him. So he's in this episode as kind of the salesperson hologram. And I love it. Every time he shows up, I think he's a great actor. So it's interesting that you have these two parts of the crew, and then on the actual Enterprise, Geordi is in command, which is interesting because at this point Geordi is just a helmsman, kind of like Chekhov was, or Sulu. He's not chief of engineer like we know him to be. He gets promoted next season. Spoiler. In fact, at this point in the season, they have Chief Engineer Logan, who's the third chief engineer we've seen this season. So it's kind of weird that they don't have continuity. And he even says, I outrank you. And he's come at me. Picard said I was in command, so it doesn't matter if you outrank me. I'm in charge. And he does some saucer separation, which this is the second time that we've seen saucer separation. They did it in the pilot, and now 20 episodes later, they did it Arsenal of Freedom. Supposedly, they wanted to do it more often, but it just slowed it down. And after this episode, really, there was no point in doing it in this episode other than being look what we can do. They do it one more time in the series, in the Best of Both Worlds, which in that episode is perfect, which we'll get to that. And then they do it again in the movies. But for this episode, it really was kind of a gimmick, look what we can do, we have a budget, and it just kind of fell apart. Overall, but yeah, I felt like this episode was a really good episode. It, like I said, it kind of felt like a classic Trek episode in the sense of a storyline, but also in kind of that slow pacing. I mean, we have 45 minutes and not a lot happens. There's a lot of drama and a lot of buildup, but not a lot happens. And even when we get to the end, Geordi's like, okay, command's yours again. And Picard's like, nope, you took it apart, bring it back when it's in one piece. And then that's it. It goes to credits. So it's a good episode, but it's kind of a slow episode at the same time. If you guys have seen this one, let me know. Let me know what you guys think about Geordi being in command, which I won't get into spoilers, but we see more of that, especially in other series. Like when we get to Voyager, we see Geordi again. Let me know what you guys think about saucer separation. I don't know why I can't say that. In the original series, Kirk kind of alluded to it, but we finally start seeing it in the Next Generation. So let me know what you guys think about that whole gimmick. Like, does it make sense to you, or do you guys just think it's a gimmick? So let me know what you guys think about that. Let me know what you guys think about Vincent Savali. Sorry, I'm terrible with names. You guys know that. It's been like 110 videos. So let me know what you guys think about all that, and I will see you guys next time for Symbiosis.